We say it each and every day, but we really are getting closer to the start of the Duke men's basketball season. New practice scrimmage videos have been released on the Duke basketball YouTube page. Let's break it down. What do we see in those videos? We talk about that on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils.
Hi, everybody. Dick Vitale. Hey, make sure you listen, man. To Locked On Blue Devils with J.J. Jackson. He's awesome, baby.
You are Locked On Blue Devils, your daily podcast on the Duke Blue Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Locked On Blue Devils podcast. It's so great to have you here with us on this Wednesday, October 4th, 2023. On today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils, we've got a lot of scrimmage thoughts that we want to share with you. Duke basketball releases a new practice video on their YouTube channel. We'll also talk a little bit more about that Duke football loss to Notre Dame over the weekend as the Blue Devils go into the bye week and so much more. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to follow us on Twitter. That's LO_Blue Devils is our Twitter handle. I'm on Twitter as well at _JJ_Jackson_. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Hit that subscribe button. Leave us a 5-star rating and review. And then also watch the show daily on YouTube, as your support means the absolute world to us here when you watch on YouTube. Right now, though, I want to bring on a good friend, Jordan Mann. He's at Duke FB Fans on Twitter. Also, Coach J Man is where you can hear his thoughts on everything. And Jordan, it's good to see you once again, as always.
Yeah, brother. Appreciate you having me on.
Let's talk a little basketball, man. We've had some fun basketball talks over the last few weeks, you and I together. And here we are, Duke's giving us more content to actually talk about. They had media day. We heard some quotes from players and coaches, and all of that is great. It's well and good, but it's something totally different, man, when we actually get to see some scrimmage footage that they put out there.
Oh, yeah. Obviously, we kind of already knew what type of team Duke was going to have this year with the guys coming back in the class, but the hype around, like, people watching the closed scrimmages and stuff to really see it now public, Duke looks – I'm excited for this season. I mean, it's been a while for me personally to be like this pumped up for a Duke squad and this team. From top to bottom, I love this team.
I love that we're getting this footage, right? I mean, this is something that we've seen a little bit over the last few years. In the heyday of Mike Krzyzewski being the Duke men's basketball coach, there's no way that this would ever kind of be released out there. And it's obviously not consistent, 8-9 minutes of content. There are some cuts here and there, but you see guys miss shots. You see them turn the ball over. You see, great defensive and offensive plays. In some ways, it is a little raw, the footage it's not a highlight tape by any stretch of the imagination. And the teams are constantly changing throughout the videos. I just like that we have this material to watch.
Yeah. They do a very good job of editing too, because the clips that you see are organized pickup. They're not going to show, I don't think they're running any stats in these things. It's still early, but if they did, they would not have that for film for other teams. So it's nice to see the two-man games they're having with Roach and Flip and the pick and pops. And Roach is Mr. Midi, man. He loves that mid-range game. And Caleb Foster did the same thing. And, yeah, it was just – you saw a lot of good things, a lot of really high-powered offense between the skill guys at Duke.
I'm a big fan of all the footage that's released to us. The shooting is something that we've been talking a lot about, like, hey, this team's going to shoot. They're going to be able to shoot from the outside. Those mid-range jumpers are going to be something that's going to be impressive this season. It's one thing to talk about it. Now we're actually getting to see that, because my goodness, Jordan, when we watch this team kind of out there on the practice floor, they're not missing very many shots. Like, they really are making their mark from the outside.
Yeah, it's crazy. Last year, I think it was like Whitehead was like the main guy that could constantly knock down the three. But year two, Proctor, I mean, his shot looks good. It looked good last year, but he's going to be more comfortable year two. It's going to be a better three-point percentage. You get McCain in. Foster looks like he can shoot a little bit. TJ Powers, like Flip, obviously, year two. Yeah, Duke is going to be able to knock down the three ball, arguably 1 through 5, depending on the roster, the lineup.
Let me put you on the spot here. Who takes the most threes this season? Who do you think?
That is a great question.
I don't have an answer to this. I think I keep going back and forth between a few guys.
Man.
Let's think out loud together. What do you think, man?
Well, like I want to go like McCain, like Jared can just pull from anywhere.
And make it from anywhere. Yeah.
I don't know with him being like he's not going to be one or two main options. So it might be like he goes 3 of 5 a game. Like that's like his window. But Proctor might be underrated where he could shoot some deep some threes and pick and pops and then flip. Man, I'm gonna have to go. Oh man, I'm gonna say
Proctor could be the answer. You know, I think I was back and forth between. I was back and forth between Filipowski and McCain, but yeah, there could be a world out there where Proctor makes the most 3-pointers, just that pure counting stat number this entire season.
Duke just loves the 2-man game, and Proctor's really good at 2-man game, and his 3-point percentage and his looks were a lot more comfortable as the season went on, and I think that's one area in his game that he has focused on this offseason. Man, I think he's going to be the underdog in that, but I'm going to go Proctor.
Your Twitter handle is Coach J Mann, so I got to put you on the spot here. If people have no idea what you're talking about, what is this 2-man game that you think we're going to see a lot of from Duke this year? Explain it to them.
It's something that Duke does. It's just pick and roll, pick and pop. It's just a read, and like it helps Roach, and they can set ball screens and pick and roll. They can slip ball screens, just depending how the defense plays it. But that's how Roach gets to his mid-range game that I talked about. That's how Proctor gets to the rim. That's what made Flip so deadly this past year was no matter what the sets were, they always came back to the action of Flip, either setting a hard ball screen or slipping and popping or slipping and rolling. So that's what makes this Duke team very special is they're very comfortable playing with one another, and that's going to be key for a deep run.
How are those other 3 guys? Like I'm thinking about somebody like Mark Mitchell. How are the other 3 guys impactful, effective? It's a 2-man game, but there's still 3 other players out there on the floor. How are they most effective when Duke's running things like this?
When you run that stuff, that much action, the eyeballs on the court are going to be watching the ball, whether they are supposed to or not. And a guy like Mark Mitchell was very good slasher last year. Proctor's vision, his guy's going to be asleep in the wing. That's where you see a back door from the corner, and you've seen Mitchell slash and finish above the rim. So that's where he comes into play. And I think he'll be an X factor too within the offense as well because he can get downhill in that.
So just like reading what's happening with the ball screen, and if there's a rim running opportunity for Mark to take that, or otherwise kind of see if there's extra help and you might be wide open.
Correct.
For a look like that. Okay.
And there'll be actions. The whole premise about it. I know now we're talking ball, really talking ball, but the whole action out of it too is there'll be a twist or a little wrinkle to where maybe there's out of that 2-man game off ball, he gets a back screen to where he is open on a cut. And so like there's a lot of stuff you can toy with. And yeah, the actions that Shia ran.
This is good stuff. Yeah.
The actions Shia ran last year was really cool to see from a coaching standpoint of like Duke's actually running sets. They're not playing, hey, 5-on-5, we're playing like ISO ball. Like they did on occasion, but it was organized pickup for the most part.
Let's keep it moving. Let's keep talking about some of these takeaways that we had, and we'll do that after our first time out here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by our friends over at Bird Dogs. I swear by Bird Dogs. I tell you that all the time because they make you look good. They make me look good. Bird Dogs stretch khaki shorts are designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but fit way better. They fit way better than regular shorts that are made of stiff, restricting cotton. As Bird Dogs fix this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice movement. Bird Dogs uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Go to birddogs.com/lockedoncollege or enter promo code LockedOnCollege at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/lockedoncollege for a free water bottle at checkout. You don't want to take your Bird Dogs off. We promise you that. Moving forward here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils, JJ Jackson alongside my pal Jordan Mann at Duke FB Fans on Twitter and at Coach J Mann to hear all of his basketball thoughts. So tell me a little bit more about this scrimmage that we saw over the weekend. Who else stood out to you when that footage was released?
Caleb Foster. I mean, he looks very comfortable. The game, there's always this jump as a high school player to college. The game's just faster. It is. But in the highlights, obviously, keyword is highlights, he looked like the pace of play, he's playing it. Like there's no jump there. He looks very calm and collective in what I've seen. And yeah, I like Caleb's game a lot. And shout out real quick to my boy Ben Phelps. He's been training Caleb since he was like 13 or 14 here in Charlotte. And I had to give him a shout out because I love what I'm seeing from Caleb. And yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah, I think he's going to make a big impact for the Duke team this upcoming season. That guard spot has a lot of heavy minutes with Proctor and Roach coming back, McCain being so talented, Jaden Shute. I am really hopeful we get an elevated role for Jaden Shute this season as he gets ready for his sophomore year. But yeah, let's show some love to Caleb Foster because that guy is long. He can attack the rim. He's knocking down shots from the outside in these clips, and I'm excited to see what he can do on the defensive end of the floor too.
Yeah, one other guy that I would shout out to is Christian Reeves. He looked pretty good. I mean, he looked like he was cleaning up. And as a big man, that's all you care about. Keep the ball high and clean up. And he was cleaning up around the rim. So that was good to see for him. Hopefully he has some contributing minutes this year.
Reeves and Foster, both from Oak Hill Academy. So there's a comfort, a familiarity between those two guys. And Christian Reeves, another guy going into a sophomore season where I'm curious what the opportunity to play kind of looks like for him. Going back to the defensive end of the floor, though, at that guard spot, like I don't know if I'm necessarily looking for rankings, or maybe I am here, Jordan. If you look at kind of those four key guards for this Duke team, where do they rank in terms of defending the basketball, do you think?
I think Proctor's got to be one.
Yeah.
Just his size and length. He's going to be the point. And then, honestly, I'd probably go Foster, too, because his length. Like he's a long guard, and then Roach, obviously, it's not a slap in the face to Roach there. I'm just going off of pure length on the defense, but I got him 3 and then 4.
Okay, right after that, yeah.
And, yeah, okay. That's probably what I'd go with.
What have you seen from Roach on the defensive end of the floor throughout his Duke career? We've got a lot of minutes of him out there on the floor. What have you thought?
I mean, he plays his tail off. There's just been times where he might be on the wrong end of a mismatch every now and then on the wing. But for the most part, I mean, he's done his job and he's done well. And every year he's taken that step of being a better defender. So I might actually put him – he's probably be one – like knowing how much I'm wrong with predictions, he's probably going to be like the best Duke defender. I'm going to go Proctor then – yeah.
Proctor just got so good throughout the season, right? I mean, early on, we were not talking about his defense whatsoever. And by the end of the year, you're talking about Mark Mitchell and his defensive impact because it was really felt in that Tennessee game. So the last game of the season is going to create more narratives and headlines and talking points. Derek Lively was outstanding, totally different position with what he's trying to do on the defensive end of the floor. But man, what we were saying about Tyrese Proctor at the end of the year, like, yeah, the offensive game continues to improve, but he was doing one hell of a job on the defensive end of the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you said it best. And that's the most disappointing thing for Duke last year was that they did run into a bunch of grown 30-year-olds of Tennessee that tried to literally just hurt them in the March Madness. But because that team was clicking at the right time, and winning in March is so hard. And to go against a juggernaut like Tennessee in terms of just physicality and just old guys, that Duke was already a man down with Mitchell. That sucked for Duke because what you saw in the ACC tournament was high-level basketball that Duke was playing.
So hopefully we see more of that on the defensive end of the floor this upcoming season because we feel better about the offense. Team defense as a whole, though, how are you feeling about the Duke team? Because we've talked about the guards, Jordan, but what we have not mentioned whatsoever yet is that Lively's not back there anymore. Like there's going to be a totally different dynamic when you attack the rim because, again, before Derek Lively was in town, Mark Williams was defending the rim, and he did an amazing job with that as well.
Yeah, that's a hole you just won't be able to fill. I mean, Derek Lively averaged like 5 and 3, it seemed like, and he was the most important player for like a month, maybe 2 months of Duke's season of just his defense. I mean, he truly was remarkable on the defensive end, and I just don't know how you replace that. I mean, Duke's going to run and gun some teams offensively, sure, because they're talented, but there are going to be games where you really need Flip and Reeves with his length to really be big down low.
Let's keep talking about Duke, but we'll change sports now. We're going to talk a little bit about the football game that was just played this past weekend as the Blue Devils get set to head into their bye week. And we'll do that after our final timeout here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. Locked On Blue Devils here today is brought to you by FanDuel. This is America's #1 sports book, as you could snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, then there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use, a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and so much more. So go ahead, visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Final few moments here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. JJ Jackson alongside Jordan Mann. He's at Duke FB Fans on Twitter. All right, the football game plays out on Saturday. Duke suffers their first loss of the season by a touchdown to the Fighting Irish. And boy, there was a 12, nearly 24-hour period where it felt pretty doom and gloom as we're kind of awaiting the official injury status for quarterback Riley Leonard.
Yeah, Riley, if you're seeing this, I hope that leg's elevated on your couch with the ice packs on it. Need you back ASAP. But yes, that was scary, man. I mean, like I tweeted, I can handle a loss. I can't handle losing Riley on that. I mean, that was more gut wrenching than the 4th and 16. It was just because, regardless, Duke lost that game, but it's not an ACC loss. And so losing Riley for any ACC game, which Duke probably will with NC State and maybe even Florida State, that hurts because Duke proved against Clemson and then proved against Notre Dame that they can go best of the best with anybody in the country, anybody on their schedule. And so Duke possibly being robbed of a healthy Riley Leonard at Florida State in 3 weeks that sucks. It does. But hopefully he's back sooner rather than later.
I don't think that we will see more news this week at least, and as we continue into next week in regards to Riley Leonard. I think Duke's going to kind of keep that close to the vest, as they should. You don't want to give NC State a little bit too much to kind of prep for as they get ready for this upcoming week. But you and I both believe that Riley Leonard will not be playing the next time that Duke football takes the field. That means Henry Beeland IV likely becomes the starter. We've already seen a little bit of Grayson Loftus out there on the football field, but we're going to give the nod to Henry Beeland IV. So you just had a message for Riley Leonard. If Henry Beeland were to be listening or watching us right now, Jordan, what would you say?
Just play to your strengths. There's one key component of all that, like, is Kevin Johns. I trust the coaching staff. I just recorded with my co-host Connor O'Neill of the Big J and Little J show. So we'll be having a recap of the Notre Dame game and going into the bye week. That'll be dropping this week. And one thing I said was I have full faith in this coaching staff. And I know with Duke having this bye week that they're going to have packages and they're going to have plays that fit Beeland's strength. And NC State has a good defense, but there's wrinkles that Johns loves to do that really, man, can set up an open player. And as long as Beeland can hit him, then that's all that matters. And I think Duke will be more they have been run-oriented this whole season, but I really think they're going to be like, our run game has to carry us against NC State, and then Beeland pass secondary.
I'm excited to see what he can do, right? We saw Riley Leonard get some opportunities early in his career with Gunnar Holmberg there under center mainly for Duke, and you kind of got a picture of what the future would look like. This is that perfect opportunity for Henry Beeland, and you're right. It's just the quarterback switching. It's going to be the same offensive coordinator, the same guys in the backfield that you're handing the ball off to, the same offensive line, same guys that you're throwing the ball to. Literally, the quarterback is the only thing different.
Yeah, it is. And I trust this Duke staff, man. I really do. Like, I'll go to war for them as I do on Twitter all the time, and I will continue to do that because I just have full faith in what they can do as a staff and as a unit.
Yet again, on the biggest stage, everybody in the college football world watching this game on Saturday night, ABC College Game Day was there. And Jordan, I mean, goodness gracious, the defense once again for Duke. Yes, they walked away with a loss at the end of the night, but man, what a performance they had overall.
Yeah, I mean, they held Hartman to 50% completion percentage, and he came in as like arguably the best quarterback stat wise in the country. I mean, he had 14 touchdowns and 0 picks coming in to the game with a very high completion percentage. Duke made him work for every yard, and then Estime was one of the best running backs in the country. And you negate that 30-yard touchdown run at the end where Duke just sold out on the run. He had 51 rushing yards on 17 carries. So like Duke's defense, man, is just it's one of the best in the like it is one of the best units in the country. It really is. And it won't be talked about enough because it's Duke on the uniform. It's not Clemson or Florida State or anybody. It's Duke. So they're not going to get the proper praise, but could not ask for a better defense performance by the guys.
What do you think the football recruits that were at Wallace Wade Stadium this weekend took away from the game, from the atmosphere? How do you think they felt after the game?
Well, I'll tell you, if I had to say anything, it just shows that whatever Elko says is the truth. Like he told the guys like he came to change the program. He's done it in a year and a quarter, and he's told all the recruits that they're changing the narrative about Duke football. And sure, that's recruit talk, that's coach speak, but to see it come to fruition in College Game Day in Durham, 5.2 million people tuned in nationwide to watch Duke football. I mean, are you kidding me? That's insane. And I think it was probably overwhelming in the best way possible for some recruits that were there. I mean, there were some very high touted players, and like I know Duke's shooting for the moon for some guys, like 4- and 5-star players, and they're not going to land them all, but you just take a couple. We saw this upcoming class, they landed 2 or 3 4-stars. They can continue to do that, man. Then Elko is going to really build something scary at Duke.
I'm excited to see what this Duke team is capable of in the days and weeks to come. That's for sure. And we'll see how they respond coming out of the bye week. Jordan, thank you once again for being here on the show with us today. Promote your work, promote the podcast, promote your Twitter accounts. The floor is yours, man. What do the people need to know?
So yes, my Twitter accounts are below. And then the Big J and Little J show is on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can find us anywhere with podcast streaming. And I have a YouTube channel. It's JMann_. JMann_2Ns_. And I just post like, it'll be, what are they called? The quick clips. I'm drawing a blank on what the YouTube shorts. Yeah, YouTube shorts. And then I have a Shire era video that I posted about 3 or 4 months ago. It's a little hype video, but yeah, I'm posting some content on there. So give me some love, see what it's like. And if it's bad, just lie to me. Just put a comment saying how good it was. Just lie to me.
I love that. Jordan, thanks for the time. We'll do this again soon, okay?
Appreciate you, brother.
All right, that's Jordan Mann joining us here on today's episode of Locked On Blue Devils. I'll go ahead and tell you, it's not bad. You don't have to lie to the man. It's good stuff. So go check it out on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast feed and so much more. Do that for us as well. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Blue Devils, each and every day, giving you the content that you want to hear, watch, and discuss with the Duke Blue Devils athletic program. That will do it for today's show. As always, go Duke. We'll talk to you tomorrow. My name is JJ Jackson. Thank you and good day.